Welcome, resilient and prosperous agents and investors nationwide. Today is Thursday, April 30th, 2020, and this is Mastermind call number 276. Before I forget, I want to remind you all that next Wednesday, May 6th, is the first Wednesday of the month, and we will be doing our role play call. Same phone number you called in on today, and that is 2 p.m. Eastern, next Wednesday, May 6th. So make sure you are there. That's a good opportunity to test your skills and challenge Chad. And challenge Chad and Bruce this time. Bruce, we'll let you join in a little bit. Get your
finger on my nose. Yeah, not me.
For those of you that weren't on the last call, we have a fifth person on these calls. We have Bruce Hill, who we're really happy to have on as our coach, our newest coach. So hearing good things about you already, Bruce, and that not just from your relatives. It's people you've actually spoken to.
Not just from me. You mean not just from me?
Not just from you, no, sir. Chad, you want to summarize your 40 hours of mastery that just is concluding today?
Yeah, we had another almost 16-hour class. It was good, really good interactive group. I think we had 59 new folks, and we had right at 100 people in the class, and lots of good engagement, lots of alumni came back to help, and Joyce continues to lift the record. She's been there 34 times now.
And you've only had 27 classes, right? I don't think it's 34. You're exaggerating a little, right?
No, I'm not kidding. I introduced her to the class, and we determined it was her 34th consecutive month taking mastery.
Wow. And she happens to be in the queue, so we'll let her share her war stories from mastery. She's the second one up this week. That's great. Jim, anything you want to share?
I just want, first off, to know what Chad and Joy are naming their children. I think that would be important to know. And you guys are pretty close, I would say. The only thing I would say is, guys, it's been an interesting period for all of us, and the good news, I think, is that, as Jim started this off to say, the resiliency of our group of people and the community that makes us up is a pretty amazing bunch. And we've had not only a lot of support from you guys and certainly offered it back, but I think the craziest part about this is that when we started this, our anticipation was that we'd have challenges and our folks would be experiencing them as well, and we kind of battened down our hatches and girded ourselves for the worst. And the craziest part about this is that we've had literally our best months in a long, long time. Our business has actually grown over the last 2 months. All of our businesses have, the parts of our businesses have grown. And I think it's because of the fact that people realize this is a market that has certainly taken off during the time that people are home. People are able to get to them easier. People are able to contact and make contact with people who are now at home, not at offices, and success has been following it. So we've been pleased about that. The only thing I would add to that is that Chad just finished mastery. I know that several of the people that were in it are people who are not yet subscribers who wanted to go through mastery first and learn as much as they could. We do keep our counts down in counties to make sure that everybody has a good opportunity to be successful. And if you want to get a seat at the table and get your county, the time to do that is today. We've got some end-of-the-month specials that our salespeople are dealing with that we kind of put in place 2 months ago to help us get through this period of time and help our customers. And we think the time has probably come that we'll probably pull those. So we would very much like to encourage you to make today the day you take decisive action. And after this call is over, we anticipate being inundated with calls and closing out the month in fine style. So please give us a call and make sure that you hold on to the county seat that you're looking for, and make sure your county is still available and preserve your opportunity to be part of this great market. We thank you.
Excellent. Well said. Bruce, anything you want to add?
Well, to jump into what Tim said, I think that one of the reasons that all the leads business has been good is agents are noticing that in times like these when there's uncertainty, sometimes you can't only rely on your one source of business. So all the leads gives a good extra additional source of business, and I realize most everybody on this call is already a subscriber, but it's a good extra source of business that should sustain if your market is one of the ones that sees a dip and maybe your sphere of influence stops performing and producing the way that it was before.
All right. Well said, all of you. We have 1, 2, 3. We got 7 in the queue. Plenty of room for more, but please try to get in there early. We do try real hard to keep these calls, usually not successfully, at an hour, but the most that we will go is an hour and 15 minutes. So if you do have something, success story, challenge, a win, issues, please, nothing's off, nothing's out of line here. Just hit *6 and hit 1. And let's get to our first caller. First up is, this is Chad's mastery wife. Joyce is up first.
Good morning. I want you to know this is a great mastery class, and I think Chad walks on water.
Oh, you're believing all of his lies, Joyce, but thank you.
Chad, a question on my current deal. I think the house is worth about $500,000, and with the repairs that we've determined, we think we can get $700,000 if the market doesn't tank before. So we have convinced the seller to partner with us 50-50 to make the updates for them. And I want to know, do I need to create an LLC just for this deal? And do I need to call on my attorney to draw the contract for this?
For sure. The first thing, what's the jumbo loan limit in your market?
474.
474?
That's before you get to be a jumbo, but we can't get a jumbo loan.
That's my concern. So to be exposing yourself to that right now seems extremely risky because of the lack of jumbo loans in the marketplace. So if it were you flipping it yourself, I would even be a little more bullish. But the fact that you're partnering with a family, pouring your money into an asset that you don't actually own, that you would own a part of if you do this, what happens?
Chad, are you there? We lost you.
Yeah.
Tim, are you there?
Joyce, can you hear me?
I can still hear him.
I can hear you, Chad.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, I went away for a minute. I'm back, guys. Go ahead, Chad. Sorry.
So, Joyce, my concern is that you're going to be exposing yourself to a lot of risk because if jumbo loans don't change in the time that you're doing that renovation, there's a good chance those higher priced properties that are priced above the jumbo loan limit are going to be hit pretty hard because it's supply-demand economics. So if that happens, you just need to be very careful. What is your recourse, or how do you secure your investment if that house doesn't sell for a year or 2 or 3? And that it could get really ugly if the family's like, oh, whatever, it's beautiful, we're just going to move into it. Now you've got all of your capital in there, and is a judge ever going to allow you to evict a family that owned the property? So if you're going to do it, you need to be very clear about setting expectations and what control you have on selling the asset, and that needs to be addressed in the operating agreement or the trust agreement, whatever vehicle your attorney decides to use. But you certainly should have an attorney structure the deal for you. You can use a limited partnership, a joint venture, a fresh LLC, or a land trust. But I'll leave it to your attorney to protect your assets. But the question you should be asking yourself is, what if jumbo loans don't become available around the time we finish this project, and we can't find a cash buyer at that price? Then what do we do then? What's our contingency plan? And if you can't come to a clear agreement as a group, then I would recommend just selling this one as is.
Okay. So that would be my way to help them, is to do an as is.
Yeah. Or
Okay.
you can get or you can find them a lender and they can take the risk. You know, if you believe, my whole concern with this is the higher priced properties are very likely to be difficult sales outside of a rally that we're probably going to see in the next 60 to 90 days. And if you're going to do a project of that size, what I'm thinking is you're going to be getting done around August or September. And I'm not sure if jumbo loans will be back in the marketplace. When they pulled jumbos and condos last time, it took months upon months for them to come back. And there are some lenders out there still writing them. They're just not very easy to get, and they have very high credit qualifications. So that's my word of caution. If they can get out under the jumbo loan limit now and they're happy with that equity level, that would probably be my advice to them.
Okay. So I have a second one coming up that I'm hoping is going to work. Do I need a second LLC for it? It's a lower price property. It won't need a jumbo
Yeah,
loan.
you should always use a fresh entity. If you're going to partner with the estate, then you should as together, and you can determine whether you do this, whether they trust you doing it, or if you have a third party. It would probably, if anything would ever go sideways, it would be good to have a third party establish a basis value. So what is it worth as is, where is today? And you probably don't need an appraisal for that. You could throw an agent $50 to do a BPO, and then that way it's a third party independent valuation. So it's clear that no one's trying to influence the value in anyone's favor. And that then goes to your attorney, and you say, we would like to form a partnership on this. We are going to the estate is providing the house at a basis valuation of $200,000. I will put in, $50,000 in construction. We think the home will sell for $325,000, and we're going to split the net proceeds. And again, you're going to take the full listing commission, and that's going to be netted out. And whatever's left, then the members of that LLC or that land trust, whatever you use, will split the net 50-50. So if you add $100,000 in value, the family gets 50 and you get 50, but you also got the listing commission.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate you.
Thanks a lot, Joyce.
Thanks, Joyce.
Next up is phone number ending in 4361. You're up next.
Hi, Chad. This is Ashley.
Hey, Archie.
Hi. I have a question. In my quest to reaching out to attorneys, I have actually reached out to two, and with the first intention, because I need to get my trust established as well, I've reached out to two, and both of them are doing a fair number of deals in the market. Obviously, I have to pick one of them. So how would you recommend I maintain a good relationship with the other person that I might not work with?
I would find them, just replace yourself with another referral. Have you found anyone else who you can refer?
I haven't yet, but I guess I could work on it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just say, listen, I interviewed several attorneys and I could only pick one. It was a really tough decision, but I really appreciate the time you gave me, and I think that you make a great partner and someone I'd like to support your business. So, in good faith, here's my sister who also needs a living trust, or here's my last client.
Okay,
and
do I?
Bruce,
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead with that question. I'll chime in a second.
So, and then do I, at this point in time, also go into the fact that I deal with probates, and I've been, like the spiel that we have to give to the attorneys that you've gone over the mastery, do I kind of kick in at that point in time or take it at a later point in time?
Yeah, I mean, just whenever it can happen as a natural conversation is the best time. So you can say, listen, I reached out to several attorneys. We help a lot of families in probate. So as part of that, we're at the courthouse every month, and we see, to get the information to know which families to reach out to. But we also notice your name comes up in multiple cases every month. So it's obvious that you're active and knowledgeable and have a good reputation. So I would still like to support your business. I actually have, one of my past clients is finished with a transaction and really needs to do a living trust. And what most often will happen is naturally they'll be like, well, wait a minute, what do? You actually go to the courthouse every month? And they'll start to ask you questions. And then once you have that engagement, then you can open up and be like, oh yeah, we actually built a team of people that do everything that you don't. We consider the attorneys a member of the team, but we handle all the non-legal aspects of probate. And ultimately what we try to do is compress the timeline and maximize the equity for the family. So our attorneys love us because we get cases closed faster with higher gross amounts, so our attorneys make more money. Do you think maybe there's something we could do together? And oftentimes they will not have met anyone else doing this, so you'll be their go-to from that point forward.
And Bruce, you had something you wanted to add?
I did. So during this, Chad addressed what to say and do with the attorneys themselves. What I would also encourage you to do is document publicly, not the ins and outs of the trust that you personally establish, but a little bit of that trust setup process and your attorney relationship. Put it into some emails and some things, and at the end of each one of those documented marketing pieces, you're going to go to your audience that's seeing this and ask them if they have done the same thing and if they need some guidance on setting it up to reach out to you. That'll should give you a handful of people that you're already connected with that come to you, and that now you have a chance to refer them.
I think that's a great idea, Bruce. And RC, what I would recommend is do a video, maybe do a series of blog posts where you actually videotape yourself talking about the reasons why you're establishing a trust. And then the next one, how easy it was to establish a trust. And the third one, why you believe now every one of you should have helped every family set up a trust. And then your email copy can be really simple. So it can be, and you could have a 3-series email that would be less than a paragraph of copy with just one single link, which brings them back to your website and gives them the opportunity to see your site, who you are, what you've been doing. So rather than try to make big, robust HTML emails that tell the story, I would use your blog to tell the story and use email to get traffic to your blog.
Do you think a Facebook live session with the attorney, whoever I pick, would also be a good way of reaching out to the sphere of influence I have on my Facebook?
Yeah, as long as you do it with Zoom, where you can capture the native video and reuse it on your blog. Don't just do it from Facebook. Do it from Zoom or StreamYard, where you can get the live benefit, but then you can capture the raw video and put that on your blog page, your YouTube channel. So Facebook can be that's just your best bet. Is to get you want to be able to capture your raw footage and broadcast live. So check out StreamYard.
You can actually do Facebook Premiere and broadcast recorded videos as live as well. So if you look up Facebook Premiere, you're able to record that video, edit out anything that you struggle with, and then still publish it as a Facebook Live using the Facebook Premiere tool.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
But to your question, absolutely. If the attorney's willing to do it with you, and he should be, because it's going to be supporting their business. So the more people-oriented it is, the more effective it will be. So, and then when one of your past clients steps up to the plate, document that and make a series of blog posts and really drive the point home that, listen, you're buying assets that represent 80% of your net worth and will require your estate to be probated. Let's take my service one step further and make sure that you're protected and that your family has a plan. And you can create a whole section of your business of your site, like a whole new reason for past clients to keep up with you and refer people to you. And you could build a lot of social capital around that.
Okay, does that help?
Thank you so much. Yes.
All right, excellent. We got a full queue. Good job participating, everybody. Next up is phone number ending in 7976. Renee, you're up.
Hello. I have a couple of series of questions, so I'll just kind of fire them off in no particular order. Chad had mentioned I think it was last week, about URLs and having a .org versus a .com. Does that matter if you are still a for-profit company? I mean, it's not like you're kind of duping the public. I just wanted to hear some more feedback on that.
So it's most common to have a .org for a nonprofit, but there's nothing regulating those. So the perception is if it's a .org, it must be a nonprofit. So you don't have any liability to worry about, and you can take advantage of that perception.
Okay. Second question. If this is kind of a simple question, I just want to hear you guys' feedback on that. If the seller, if the PR/seller, right, if they don't have enough money or don't have maybe a credit card or even a checking account set up yet, and it's a quote smaller fee like a lock change, but we really have to get in, should I be paying for it if we really have to get in and there's just no other monies? And if so, do I bill through Escrow or try to build a PR? I mean, how does some kind of incidental like that work?
You could do either. So you can pay for it and just invoice the escrow company.
Okay.
Or the escrow, or you can also invoice the estate. And if it was paid in escrow, then all they have to do is show the settlement statement to show that liability was closed out in the final accounting. So, however, I mean, I would recommend you get it through escrow so they can just add it to your proceeds. The one thing to be aware of, especially if it's a big dollar amount, if you're splitting with your broker and you're getting that all in one commission check, you may be losing money because your broker gets 30% of your reimbursement.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good. Thank you for that. And two more quick questions is, would you guys encourage the PR to put in some kind of security system on any vacant properties for squatters and safety in that capacity, because the house might be in decent shape and then we all know the squatters get in and sometimes they ruin it even more.
So on Master yesterday, one of our attendees shared they have a special, they use a no trespassing sign, and then there's a special document. You were in Master yesterday, weren't you?
I did. I didn't hear this part though. Maybe it was towards the end.
I dropped the link. I can't. But anyways, he gave us a link to the document in his state. But you basically, if you have posted trespassing signs with this disclaimer underneath of it, and you find a squatter, then they have, the police have immediate authority to arrest. There is no eviction. So if somebody, and I think it's a great idea, and what else is it? It's one of the best reasons I've ever heard to get face-to-face, because I tell everybody the only reason you pick up the phone to prospect is to get face-to-face. It doesn't have anything to do with listings or buying or anything. It's how do I get face-to-face with this person? That should be your only objective of an outbound call. So this is one of the best reasons I've seen. It's very small, but it has a very large impact. Like you can use that fear of, well, Mr. Smith, have you thought about, in addition to the insurance that we're going to put in place, what if somebody breaks the back door and they've lived in there for a week before you find out, and there was no the property wasn't secure? Now you have to wait for a judicial backlog to evict this person from your house who you didn't have a lease agreement with. So in order to prevent that, the first thing we try to do for families is meet at the property so we can properly secure it by posting the right signs that will legally protect you. The next thing we do is we make sure you have insurance, so the asset value is protected. And anyways, it gives you a great reason to get out there very quickly and in person and just say, I have them in my car. I've already printed one up with your property address on it. When would be a good time to meet? Would 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock be better this afternoon? And even if they're not ready to go, it's you stepping out with an extreme amount of concern for their well-being and service, a high level of service, and that will differentiate you. And do you think you're going to talk more? Like, will you stand around and talk after you put the sign up, do you think? Or are you just like there you go, have a nice day? But you might just work with your attorney and say, hey, what can I pair? What kind of no trespassing notice would stand up in a court in this county with the judges you know? Can you write that for me? And they'll probably do it for $100. But it should just be a one-page notice that gets posted on every single probate that you ever are involved in. Even if you're not listing it, you should offer to go do it for the family, because it gives them the impression like, holy crap, she saved us from a potential nightmare. And even if it's like 2 years from now, if they decide to sell the property or someone else they know is going through this, they will remember that gesture.
Yeah,
And Chad, I
didn't hear that. That's good. Go ahead.
It just occurred to me that if the attorney might not even charge you if he put his name on it, document prepared by Attorney Johnson and his phone number, it's kind of a good advertisement for him. Don't you think, as people come and leave the property?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Does that help?
Thank you for that.
Sure.
One more quickie. This is another obvious. I just don't know where to find it. To see where the personal representative has gotten full authority, should they have gotten a copy of that and they can forward it to me?
Yeah, they'll have their letters of testamentary.
Yeah. Okay. I'll double check. All right, that's it. Thanks.
And Renee, if you go at near the end of session 3 where I'm closing up the conversation, listen to the recording from yesterday. It should be in the top of your inbox, but in the right before we jump into the objection role play, I show you my insulation clause, and there's 2 things that I do to pretty much make sure if anyone comes in behind me, they're going to look like a fool. And one of those was getting those documents sent over with an assumptive close wrapped around it. And so just to refresh your memory, go to session 3, and right before the objection role play, you can hear how to do that.
All right. Well, we have a dozen people in the queue. I'm going to go ahead and close the queue in just a couple minutes. So last call if you'd like to jump in. Otherwise, next up is phone number ending in 5014. You're up next.
Good afternoon. This is Mike, and I'm trying to re-engage in the probate space. I had to disengage last year for some reasons that I won't get into, but knowing that you've got the historical leads on sale and trying to make the best use of my resources, what would you recommend would be the best historical dates to purchase to get up to speed quicker? Is there
so we just looked at this in a county in Virginia last week. I was helping a friend, and we found out even after it was 15 months, even still 3% of them had real estate that had not transferred, and some had multiple parcels. So they're good for over a year. But, and if you start today and go back 6 months, that's where you're going to uncover the most opportunity, because a lot of those people still haven't done anything. So if you can afford it, you can go back to 12 months. If you would rather, be more conservative, then go back 6 months. But they're valuable a year and beyond. I mean, when we through our call center, we have gotten several listings for agents, as far back as 2 years. And in my own business, I go as far back as 25 months.
And also one other question. I previously attended Mastery, and I would like to attend again. How do you register again? It was my understanding if you've taken it once, you don't have to pay.
We just finished a class last night, so I would recommend just email support@alltheleads.com. and let them know you've taken Mastery and you would like the recordings from yesterday's session, and they can get you those.
Okay, great. And then if I do in the future want to do it again, Is there a special way to get registered on the next class?
So when we announce the class, you'll see the note, like when the dates and times are. But anytime you can just email support@alltheleads.com and say I want to be an alumni registration for the upcoming mastery.
Thank you so much.
All right, still got a very full queue. Next up is phone number ending in 2121.
Hello, this is Carolyn Castillo. How's everybody?
Excellent. How about you?
Awesome, thank you. I just got my leads last week, so it was my first run of the mill, and I had 2 appointments booked, so I'll let you know how those play out next week.
Hey, Carolyn, are you on a headset? We're getting a bit of an echo. Can you pick up so we can hear you better, please?
Yeah. Can you hear me better now?
Much better. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So I came across, a plethora of different scenarios making these calls, and one of the predominant questions that I have is how do I decide whether to continue pursuing a lead or to dead it out, or what type of follow-up action? Some of the things that I wrote down, leads that don't have phone numbers, if they say they have everything taken care of, this is my first run of it, so some of them I haven't overcome that one too well. If they say they already sold the real estate, there's no more, real estate to be dealt with. We're keeping the house. What follow-up system should I continue mailing to these people? Should I dead them out of my database, or what do you guys recommend?
There's a different answer for each of those. If they've already sold the property, then you can just congratulate them on that, tell them you wish you met sooner, and offer them, say one of the things we do for every family we make contact with is we like to know they have the opportunity to sit down with our financial professionals and our legal professionals. The reason is a lot of families, are getting a lump sum of cash, and they're not exactly sure what the tax implications are or what it looks like to set up a 529 college savings plan. So we'll give you a free hour with a registered investment advisor, which is a higher standard of financial services professional. And then we'll also give you a free hour with an estate planning attorney who can make sure that you never go through this again and your estate doesn't lose 5 to 7% of its value to administration costs. So is that something would it be okay if I have those two people call you? Okay, great. So you've taken what most people think is a junk lead, you've turned it into an A-plus referral for 2 different vendors to build 2 new relationships or reinforce 2 existing relationships. And in return, you will get referrals from those people, and you'll take that, quote, junk lead, and you'll turn it into a revenue stream. If they are planning to keep the property, continue to ask questions. A lot of families think they want to be landlords, and they think they want to keep it in the family and just rent it. You should mark those for follow-up in 10 months and put it on your calendar, not just in your CRM, so you don't miss this. Because usually 10 months in, they realize that they don't want to be landlords anymore, and you've got about 2 months to get a plan in place before. And if you wait till 11 months, the lease will be up in a month. They're already going to be calling people like, we got to get out of this. We got to find someone to sell this house. And the property manager will most likely, if there is one, will most likely get that. So I find that a 10-month follow-up on the ones that are deciding to keep the homes is one of the best things, unless if they're renting it. If they're not renting it, if they plan to sell it to a family member, I try to flush out, well, that's great. One of the problems I see, though, I don't bring fear to the surface because this is real. A lot of families think a family member is going to step up and buy the house, but what they don't realize is that family member's credit there's a reason that family member doesn't already own a home. And even though they want to and they believe they can, the lender is going to run their credit and say no. And right now with lending standards tightening, it's even less likely. So make sure they understand, because they don't know what you know about real estate. So you have to understand, like you have to think about empathetically, like, okay, what traps could they be walking into? So if they're selling to a family member, and you know, try to ask questions about, oh great, well has he gotten over to a lender yet? Oh, well, listen, I have the most amazing lender. He can work with first-time home buyers, low credit. He can get anyone approved. Why don't I have him give you guys a call? So when you're referring these people off, it gives you a reason to check back. It gives you a look into the situation. So if your lender calls and is like, hey, I just had to reject this guy's loan app, you might want to follow up with that family. So you get a call from the lender, which tells you to go back to the family and say, hey, you know, I just bumped into Joe at having coffee this morning, and he said that your nephew wasn't approved for the loan. What are you guys going to do? And you can re-engage with them. The "we've got it handled" is the most common objection you'll ever hear. It's usually not true. Even if they think they have it handled, a lot of families, you have to kind of use feel, felt, found is very effective here. Well, listen, I understand how you feel. I mean, we reach out to every family in the county every month that goes through this. And lots of people feel the way you do in the beginning, and rightfully so. Like you think the attorney's going to handle most of the things. But what most families find is that in 2 or 3 months, the attorney calls and says, hey, how much of this have you gotten done? And they thought the attorney was going to be doing it. The attorney expected them to do it. It was lost in communication. And now they're 2 months behind the 8 ball with taxes, insurance, carrying cost, maintenance. So it's important for us to make sure families understand that attorneys are very busy. They're processing a lot of files, and they can't help with every step of the way. Otherwise, my business wouldn't exist. So you can kind of take that approach, or you can use kind of you can shock them out of their pattern, because they've established a pattern of running people off, and they know that's very effective. But it's not the real objection. So if there's real estate, and if that real estate has been vacant for more than 30 days, one of the most effective ways to get them back on their heels is to go, oh, okay, well, listen, just real quick, there's 2 things that I've never met an attorney that helps families do these 2 things, and I think it's embarrassing that they don't. One is getting properties properly secured, so if someone breaks in and moves in, you can actually get them out without having to go through a year-long foreclosure process. And 2 is making sure the asset has proper insurance, because most families in the beginning of probate have homes that don't even have insurance on them, even though they're paying a premium. And then just be silent. And you're going to bring a lot of fear to the surface, and then you'll tell them about vacant insurance, and you'll have your guy call them immediately with a quote, and they can bind the policy that day. And then you'll say, listen, I've got signs in my car with the proper legal documents from my attorney that we can tape in the window. That way, God forbid, if anybody did gain access to the property and decide they were going to live there, all you would need to get them out would be a sheriff. And it's easy to get a warrant with that on the window. So can I do those 2 things to help you? And so you don't accept the objection of we've got it handled, because as you get into this, you'll realize they don't have it handled. They just don't know what they don't know.
Carolyn, you still there? It looks like Carolyn dropped out of the queue, but she's still on the line. I'm not sure how that happened, Carolyn, but I'm assuming you heard Chad's answer. And I just wanted to say real quick, Carolyn is in the same county as me, South Florida, Broward County, and apparently no one told her that this is an extremely competitive market. She's only getting a partial county. She's only getting it looks like 85 leads, and she's been with us for 2 weeks, and she just kind of casually mentioned that she has 2 appointments already. So, Carolyn, after you get those listings, please come back next week and share the results with the group. Great job. We have 16 in the queue. I don't think there's any chance we're going to get to you all. My apologies in advance if you get left in the queue. As soon as the call's over, if there's something you need help with, just send a ticket to support at all the leads, and we'll get back to you one-on-one. In the meantime, next up is phone number ending in 7772. You're up next.
Awesome. Hi, guys. It's Erin Davenport here. Thank you so much for including me in this very long queue. I have a few quick questions for you. And wanted to share with everyone. I was somewhat new to this a couple of months ago. I've been with All the Leads for 3 months, and follow up even when you think the property's listed, or I spent my first month just thinking if there isn't property or it's already listed with an agent, it's a no-go, and I've been able to really grow my business just by following up, even when I feel like I'm not really going to get anything out of it. One question I have is I need to advise a lead on how to pay upfront attorney. Basically, they're in a pretty complicated probate case, an heirship. It's just taking a lot longer, and their attorney isn't overcharging them or anything, but basically they're going dry in terms of attorney fees so far. In order for us to finish to the process, we're almost at the point where they're going to get the right to sell, the letters of testamentary, but they've already, they're not very well off, so, they've already kind of spread themselves thin. From your experience, do probate attorneys, do they allow you to bill against the estate typically after a certain point?
If not, I would go find one that would.
Okay.
Like if he's already made a good chunk of money and is unwilling to carry his invoices through until the assets are liquidated, you're with the wrong attorney.
Okay. That's what I was thinking, but just wanted to.
I mean, your other options are, you can get an estate advance to help cover the legal fees, but that's just throwing expensive money at expensive service. And I think that if I would hope that attorney would step up and say, you've already paid me a considerable amount. I realize you can't, there's nothing you can do, so I'm just going to start invoicing the court, because he gets paid on the top line.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay.
And then my second, that answers my question. Just one other quick question. If a property is currently listed, does it need, I have leads telling me, well, it's listed with a realtor, people are going in and out of it every week. I wouldn't really call that fully vacant. Therefore I don't need a vacant home insurance policy. But in my opinion, and from what I from what I understand,
so the reason here's your
residing there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here's your answer. It's not, Mr. Smith. It's the vacant insurance isn't to cover you while people are in the home. It's if the people in the home don't secure it on the way out, and they let somebody gain access to it, they go in there and throw a crack party and burn it to the ground. Then what?
Mm-hmm.
So you never know when a realtor is going to forget to lock a door, and now you've got a majorly expensive squatter eviction to take care of, right? So it's at the end of the day, it's a 30% more higher premium. If they're selling the asset, they can buy a 3-month policy for $80 to $100 a month to secure the most valuable asset in the estate.
Right, and it takes an hour. It really does. So.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
All right, next up is phone number ending in 8213. You're up next.
Hey guys, I'm starting to feel like I work with you guys since I've been with you since Monday now. How are you?
You've been with us since Monday. How many deals have you put together?
I just started. I'm trying to put one this week. No,
all right, well, come on.
I did the Probate Mastery. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Mastery, so
Get to work. Get to work.
Yeah, I'm on it. That's why. Okay, question. Two questions. One has to do with trust. One has to do with the vacant insurance policy. So regarding trust, so I was talking to a client of mine who was asking me what they should be doing with their properties, and my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, was that probably one of the better ways for them to be protected is to place each property under an LLC and then to place those LLCs under Nevada Spendthrift Trust account. But then I spoke to my accountant, and he said not to do that, and that's not a good idea. You should not do that because you're just creating a big headache. So before advising my client, I kind of wanted to see what you guys thought about the situation.
These are rental properties?
rental properties, income properties, correct?
Yeah, so if you have just one, and I'll call it a master LLC, but it's just an LLC. So that LLC can be the parent entity. And then each of the rental properties, quite honestly, the best way to do it is to just form a new land trust for each of the properties and name it of the address of the property. So ABC LLC would own 3 properties. 123 Walnut Street Land Trust and 123 Walnut Street would be in that trust. 456 Sycamore Lane, and that house would be in that trust. The reason that's beneficial is if, let's just say, one of his tenants decides to throw himself down the stairs on an icy Sunday morning to see if he can get a lawsuit, and then he goes to legal aid and says, hey, I need to know what this guy has. I have $40,000 in medical bills. Then when an attorney goes to look, they're not going to see the actual assets. Like, they can see that this guy owns an LLC, and they can see the land trust for 123 Walnut Street, but what they're going to see is who the trustee is, and when they get to the trustee, that's going to be the attorney that wrote the trust, and he has attorney-client privilege, so he does not have to disclose the beneficiary or the trustor. So that will stop them right there. So if it's for asset protection, then a land trust is far cheaper and far easier to maintain. So you should have one master LLC and then contain the assets in their land trust. And one of the big benefits, there's a lot of benefits to a land trust. One of the other benefits is you don't act, in most states, you won't pay a transfer tax. So you won't have to pay for deed stamps when you roll the asset from one entity into a trust. It's a $0 transfer. So you get anonymity, you get lower closing costs, you get a lot less maintenance and a lot lower maintenance costs with that structure. And if they ever do get through the trust, then you have the veil of the LLC, and then he should have a personal liability umbrella insurance policy for everything that he's associated with. So he has layers upon layers of protection.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you.
And that's by far the least costly with the highest benefit, that structure.
Yeah, I think that definitely helps a lot. Yeah, because he has no idea what to do, and quite frankly, I wanted to advise him in the right way, obviously, without being too, getting too involved from like a legal point of view.
Yeah.
So then going to the vacant policy, so you know how part of the pitch that you were referring to earlier was to mention to the person that you're contacting that a lot of times the attorney doesn't mention that he or she should place the property under a vacant policy insurance, a vacant insurance policy. And then you said, I'll put you in touch with my person. Should I be calling, who should I be calling for this? Should I be calling, for example, like AAA or all that stuff?
No, if you have an insurance broker, that you already know and trust, just use them, because they can be a single point of contact. If they're a broker, they can write through different insurance companies. So like the guy I use, he's a broker. He owns his own brokerage. And then I write mine here in Virginia through Vacant Express or American Modern are the two that they're just the quickest and the cheapest. But there's different company, different states have different rates. So that would be my advice. Rather than go trying to do all that yourself, find a broker who has multiple resources, and then you can have a single point of contact that can issue multiple quotes all at once.
Okay, I'll search that. And then last.
I think he dropped off.
Hey, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, somebody new. Yes.
That's me, James.
Hey, James.
Hey, real quick, man, great class. I wish I did it earlier. Like I said, I probably lost about $200,000 worth of business doing it my way.
So you got a pretty good ROI on your $250 then. If you're gonna make $200,000 off of $250, that's a good ROI.
It's going to happen, I can tell you. Well, real quick, I have a client that I've been speaking to, and after your class, what we're going to try to do is I'm a partner with him to sell 2 of his houses.
Mm-hmm.
The ARV is about 160. I can, with him selling it to me for 70, and I will use my money to rehab it, get it back into shape, and it's about $20,000. He and I are going to split the proceeds.
So why would he sell it to you and then you split the proceeds? If he like, then you have to come up with the cash, right?
No. He's not going to sell it to me. He's going to partner. He's going to have out.
So he's going to quit claim it.
Correct.
And that'll be 70. His equity will be $70,000 in the entity.
Correct.
That's your basis value. Yep.
Right. Now, do you think that's a good idea in this market? Because
because are you working? What are you, Richmond or Henrico?
Richmond.
Yeah, I mean that's below median price, right?
Right, way below.
Yeah. So in the Richmond market, as long as you can complete it in the next 3 months, I would feel pretty safe with that one. And your contingency plan, and this will work well in Richmond. Your contingency plan is just to sell it with owner financing, and both of you end up making a lot more money. It just takes you longer to get paid out in whole.
That's what I was thinking.
But like, what's your rehab cost? Like, what's your budget?
25.
Yeah. So if worst case scenario, you do the project, you put it on the market, and the market gets worse, and you can't sell it, then you just transition it to a contract for deed with a $25,000 down payment. You get your principal back. They still have their equity in the deal, the house they provided. And then you take monthly payments, and you can either use accelerated payments to every month add a little bit more pressure until they refinance you out or find a way to pay you off, or you can use a balloon, and you can charge like 8% interest and balloon it at 3 years. So that gives them 3 years to become lendable. There's certain demographics if you look for immigrant buyers or Muslim buyers, they will oftentimes pay you out in the first year or 2 because they don't participate in the U.S. banking system the same way most buyers do. So they have very limited inventory, and they will pay a premium price and be grateful for what they have. So they're some of the best customers in the world for houses like this. So you're in that sweet spot. You're below median price. That's a working class neighborhood, I'm sure. And you can find those certain buyers that they make a lot of money, they have a lot of cash, but they're not lendable. So your contingency plan is, to me, that would be my primary if the homeowner if the estate were okay with that, because you're ultimately make a lot more money.
Okay. Second thing, well, thank you for bringing us Frank Patrick. I just got my first BPO.
Nice. That didn't take long.
Not at all. That's really it. I have one more question, but I can't think of it right now, but I appreciate it. Oh, yeah, I picked up Chesterfield County when that opens because if you go to northern Chesterfield, that's a predominantly Hispanic area, and if I can partner with some people, I can get them homes and help them buy homes with, I guess it would be called lease option. Yeah.
So you can do lease options. It's more beneficial to the buyer if you do a contract for deed or seller finance.
Contract for deed.
And,
okay.
They're spending upwards of 50%. Well, they're spending at least 35% of their gross income on rent. If you get them into a house with a standard mortgage payment, like a 30-year amortized payment, they're going to be spending closer to 15% of their income. So you're setting them up for success, and they're highly incentivized. You can use a balloon or graduated payments to incentivize them to pay it off quickly. And you can use the financing instrument can create the urgency. And I mean, and these are, typically they will buy homes that, because they're, a lot of times if you sell it to a tradesman, they're contractors anyways. They'll they'll buy the thing like in shambles, and they'll build it into a beautiful home. The last one I did here in Roanoke was like that. And I paid $69,000 for it. That was a record deal. I had the title in 2.5 hours.
Wow.
But I paid $69. I took a $75,000 down payment, carried a $10,000 note at 8%, and he rehabbed the entire house. It needed a full rehab, and I got my principal back in a couple of days, and I carried a note for only 10 grand for my profit, but my profit grew every month because I was making interest on top of that. So we have one of our subscribers is in Fort Worth, Texas. He has done 60 of these deals exactly like we're talking about. From August of 19 until last month, he's already completed 60 of these. And he's taking it a step further. He'll buy the house, sell it that way, and get the note in place, and then he goes to a REIT, and he'll actually sell the note for 94 cents on the dollar and get his principal return off of the note sale. And then he takes that cash and recycles it and does it again. And he just has a revolving door of transactions, and he's just money coming from all directions, and people who typically can't buy homes are becoming homeowners, and
right.
Sellers can sell at a premium without negotiating price because they're flexible in terms.
Okay, I'd like to talk to him one day. So if you can see how he does that, and I can mirror that and do that here in the Chesterfield area, North Chesterfield.
Yeah, email me, James, and I'll connect you guys up.
Hello, I'm a little bit distracted because I'm at the grocery store, but this is Maria.
Are you wearing your mask?
I am. This is Maria from Central Texas, and I kind of have 2 success stories, actually. Nice. I just closed on my first transaction last Thursday, and I'm getting ready to close on my second one this upcoming Tuesday. But my question is, so I have this potential client. We're meeting, he's a DOD employee, so he's kind of restricted and he doesn't live in the local area, but he's going to be, we have a tentative meeting on June the 11th. He's got a probate hearing coming up, so I'm assuming that the probate has been contested, or something's been contested in the probate. He is reluctant to sign a listing agreement with me because he doesn't really know what the medical debt that his mother left behind. So he doesn't want to enter into a listing agreement without knowing what that figure is. How can I get him? What do I need to do to convince him to sign the listing agreement with me?
Have you seen the lien?
I have not.
So typically the lien, like when the lien holder records, they will actually record contact information for the collections department.
Okay.
And what you can do, and we've been successful at this in Roanoke. Carillion has liens on half of the houses in Roanoke. You can actually get that number, and we've been successful negotiating directly with the hospital on the seller's behalf. So if you really want to wow him, call up and say, hey, can I get that amount? Okay, well, listen, this estate just doesn't have adequate assets. I mean, could we give you, and hit them at 25%? See if they'll split the difference. They might split the difference and get you at 50, but we've actually paid these things down at 25% of face value. So then when you go back, you'll be like, hey, I found the payoff amount. It was 10 grand, but I got it signed right here for $2,500. All you have to do is sign this and submit the payment. You think he's going to list with you then?
Yes, but how do I go about getting that information?
So you can ask your title company if you have a title company you do a lot of work with. Just ask them to pull the file when they're recording tomorrow and bring you a copy of the lien.
That's if the lien is against the property and not against the person, correct?
Yeah, but usually medical liens, if they own real estate, they figured that out, and they'll place the lien on the real estate. But even if it's a judgment, a title employee they should still be able to pull a judgment.
Okay. Well, I will definitely get with my title partner and get that information. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank
So
you.
let's talk about your win. Let's talk. You said you had 2 closings. Were those acquisitions or listings?
She hung up already. We missed her by 10 seconds. She must be in the going to pick up toilet paper at the grocery store. We missed her, Chad. I've got her name and number, though. I'll ask her to come back next week and share the wins. Next up, phone number ending in 6773. You're up next.
Hey, so my name is Ben. I'm running across where I feel throughout the conversations that I'm having that I guess I'm not as we're making the calls as we are probate professionals, and I'm having, I guess, some trouble really knowing a lot of the probate, and I feel when people tell me, hey, you know what, everything's already handled, that I really don't have enough knowledge to ask the correct questions to keep them on the phone. How do I get beyond that?
So my best advice is take probate mastery. Like, we just finished a class last night that ran almost 16 hours, and I show you everything I know for $250. So we can send you those recordings, and by this time tomorrow you can have all the answers. I think you'll have all the answers you need.
Also, I was going to say the role play call is next Wednesday. Come on there and we'll role play with you one-on-one.
Yep. And have you listened to the archived role plays?
I have listened to some of them.
Yeah, it sounds like what you really need is what's in session 2 of Mastery, and that's where we break down everything that can be done and who can help you do it, so you can get really clear on all the things you can offer as part of this service. And that's where I see a lot of people struggle. They believe in what we're all doing here collectively, but they don't quite see how that translates into their business, and they don't have all the pieces in place. And that's really what session 2 is designed to do, is help you understand everything that can be done, and then design a plan where you can get it in place one step at a time.
Okay. And then I had another question. As far as, should I just take the time and actually go out and be humble and ask attorneys to maybe help me out with some information so that I can be, so that I can become a partner with some of these attorneys, actually sit down and ask them for information as to how the process works?
In session 1, I'll take you through about an hour of what probate is, what the demographics, like why we're in the very beginning of the biggest wealth transfer ever, how the process works step by step, what all the terminology is, and then show you how to dig in at your local level. And the first step at the local level is go to your probate clerk and have a conversation with them. I prefer to do it in person, but right now by phone. And fill in as many blind spots as you can there. And then longer term, as you get to know the probate attorneys, do just what you're saying. So don't go in feeling like you're subordinate to them. You're parallel to them. Like, you're not an attorney, and they don't have the same standard of service as you do. So you guys are complementary to each other. So don't go in feeling like you're taking. But yes, use it to go in and create a relationship and be like, listen, we've been reaching out to every family in town early in the probate process, and I keep seeing your name. You must be like one of the best attorneys in town. So I just thought we should meet, and I actually had a couple of questions to run by you if you've got 5 minutes. And approach them kind of like that, stroke their ego, and then ask for some help. People we love to help each other, right? And that creates bonds. So a lot of people are intimidated to expose ignorance and asking, quote, dumb questions to attorneys. And in my experience, in my opinion, if you're providing value to the attorney, if they see value in your model, they're not going to judge you that way. They're going to be helpful.
Let me chime in there real quick, Chad. Another thing, when you do start to work a deal, this is specific to one of your first probate deals, make sure that you're updating that attorney very frequently, calling them with updates, emailing with updates. My first experience with a probate at the end of it, the attorney said that I knew more about probate than anyone else, and this is multiple years ago. I didn't know a thing. I didn't know anything. I didn't tell her anything. I just updated her with what was going on with the listing, and it gave the impression that I was a probate expert, even though I wasn't. So once you kind of get the opportunity to work with an attorney or work through your first deal, just make sure that you keep that attorney in the loop with regard to what you do know how to do, which is sell houses. And they're going to appreciate for you. This particular attorney gave me tons of referrals over the years just because of my communication.
Great point.
Great advice.
Guys,
the bar is low.
We have 4 more in the queue. We're going to be done by 2:15. We're going to try to power through these last 4. Next up is phone number ending in 4240. You're up next.
Hi, yeah. So I'm based in LA, California, and new to probate, just starting to process and really excited about it, but definitely feeling like I don't know everything. And one thing that I keep running into when talking to people is, you know, the courts are closed right now, so they're like, we're just paused. And we try to sort of go in with the, well, let's prep the property, and we haven't been making much progress. I just wanted to talk through with you guys what other kinds of things we could be doing ahead of time to sort of make progress with them that, you know, is enticing to them, but doesn't, yeah, because I guess that's where we're getting blocked.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is, you know, that until you can actually move forward and you know, sell them and get court confirmation, the best, you can help them get property maintenance in place, like, you know, if they need lawn mowing services or hedges or handle the personal property. If the properties are vacant, you can get the vacant insurance in place. You can use the idea we talked about with the no trespassing signs and the legal notice. Like, you can show them that you're proactively willing to work, and while you're there, you can show up with paperwork and be like, you know, like you can use your whatever your style is, but you know, since we're working together, I do have an obligation, according to the state of California, to establish an agency relationship. We're going to sign a future listing with a future date. Here's the blue pen. And 9 times out of 10, people will go ahead and sign the paperwork just because it's awkward not to, right? And if they already trust you, and if they have objections, then you're going to flush out the real objections right there.
Got it. Okay.
And you're going to point out the silver lining in what they are doing, because most people try to do everything all at once. The silver lining to this that they probably haven't recognized is that they now have time to get some of these smaller things. They have time to get their maintenance. They have time to set their landscapers and lawn care up and get their insurance. And so you need to point those things out and say, you know what, I'm really envious. Most people have to eat this whole elephant all at once, and we get to take a couple of these small things and get them into place now. And that automatically should continue the conversation. At least it shows them that, hey, you know what, this is not overwhelming. I don't have to just sit back and wait, and I can do some small things, baby steps today.
Got it. And in terms of what they're allowed to do, that's, I think, another thing I'm not clear on. Like, if for example, this one lead, they do have an attorney, and they have a car and a house that they want to sell. And she was open. She was like, bring me information, but she's like, we're totally paused. What are they allowed to do in terms of?
Do you know if do they have limited or full authority?
I asked her, and she didn't know, because I learned that from you. And she was like, I don't know. And I was like, well, that's definitely something to discuss with your attorney. So
yeah, chances are they have limited authority. Most attorneys, unfortunately, don't initiate with full authority. So you can touch base with the attorney and be like, hey, I've talked to the Joneses. They've decided they want to sell the property. Knowing what I know about probate, and I'm still learning, but it seems like the best move we could make on their behalf would be to petition the court for full authority as soon as we can. That way we don't have to participate fully in the judicial backlog that LA County is facing right now. So what's the timeline? When can we get that done? Or have them call and have that conversation, or do it together? But if they have limited authority, there's not like, they already have the letters testamentary, correct?
I don't know.
Okay. If they have had the confirmation hearing and they have limited authority, you can start to deal with personal property. You do need court confirmation for the real property. And if they have limited authority, they will have to go through the overbid process. So if it's especially if it's a whole, a discounted deal, if it's just an as-is where-is sale or a cash sale, oftentimes that doesn't serve the family. It just holds them up longer and they pay more holding costs. And you can to get the attorney on your side for this is like, listen, we can by controlling the cost of the estate, of the holding cost. If we can get that off of the estate, then that raises the gross amount. So you're going to get paid sooner and you're going to get paid more. And I would think that that's something your firm's interested in. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. What are the downsides of limited authority? Like, why wouldn't they want a client to have limited authority? I mean, sorry,
Well,
what are the downsides
you mean
of
full
authority? Yeah.
In my cynical opinion, I think there's more billable hours in limited authority.
Mm-hmm.
Full authority is in everybody's best interest. As long as there's not a bad actor in the group and someone is not trying to take advantage of the family, even if that's the case, you have a fidelity bond and you have an attorney, and you can always go back to the court and say, whoa, we need a fiduciary. Things are unraveling. Like there's plenty of other fail-safes in place. So, if you watch the interview with me and John Fraker is in Northern California. He spent 20 years as a probate attorney. He has never, ever represented a limited authority estate because he thinks it's like, why would you provide such a low level of service to your client?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
All right, next up, 4789. You're up next. Hello. All right, next up, 8422. You're up next.
Hello, this is Dennis up in Northwest Florida. How y'all doing today?
Great, Dennis. How about you?
I'm doing good. So on the Credibility website, I've signed up for that. And I wonder, how many attorneys do you think you should put on there for reference?
Well, I wouldn't recommend putting any on there, any in particular, because if you're prospecting other attorneys and they go to your website and they see, this guy's working with 3 guys that are competing with me, it could hurt you. And if you're putting attorneys on there to present for your clients, why not create that as a lead capture and say, for a full list of our preferred attorneys, please drop your email address here. And you can put it behind a lead capture. That way you don't have to display them for your competitors. Your other attorneys don't see the other attorneys you're already working with, and it gives you a reason to convert a direct mail lead into a web lead.
That makes sense. Right. Because I was wondering about that. Because the website you sent me over to look at, they had attorneys all in front of it. So anyhow, and one more thing, Chad. When do you, and I've been doing this a long time, you have too, when do you know you don't want to deal with this particular person?
When they have unrealistic price expectations, or when they are distrusting or disrespectful, I shut them down quickly, and I do it swift, like with a firm hand.
Okay. That's kind of what I did about 30 minutes ago. All right.
Good man.
Feels good, doesn't it, Dennis?
Yeah. Because my life is going to be miserable. I know it. So.
Yeah. Move on.
Oh, the other thing I do, Dennis, it's a great opportunity. I teach this in Mastery. Just in case, take an agent who has mistreated you in the past and call them and say, listen, this is a referral. These people are ready to go. I'm so busy I can't deal with them. Can you handle them? And refer it to that guy.
Oh, you guys are so mean. You're so mean. All right. Well, I cannot believe it. We have one person left. We made it through the queue, and we're actually going to go just a couple more minutes. Last up, phone number ending in 6370.
Hooray. Thank you. This is David Griffin in Charlottesville.
Well, sorry, David. It's 2:15. Your time's up. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, what's the distinction between personal representative and proponent? A couple of our courthouses, they have a checkbox for both of those, and I'm not seeing much of a difference. What's a proponent?
I don't know. I've never seen that on anything, and we're in the same state. I've never had a proponent.
Okay. I'm tracking it to see if I can flush that out. I'll let you know if I
I would just call David, you just call the probate clerk. I mean, they're the keepers of that. They should be able to explain the difference to you.
Okay. And then another follow-up question. When you're pulling leads, when you guys are trained to pull leads, and you see an affidavit of notice regarding the estate of, and it references maybe an old probate of maybe a year or 2 years ago, and now something's happening, like they're transferring the property, is that something we want to follow up with that person because now they're taking control of the property?
Yeah, it's usually either a sale or a refinance made them understand that probate was necessary. So they have to go retroactively probate the estate. So there's a chance they could already have a buyer lined up, but there's also a chance, especially in this environment, that they're just refinancing the asset.
Okay.
But
So do you think
they're doing something. I would certainly call.
Call but not send a letter.
Well, yeah, either way, reach out. Like try to have a conversation with them. I mean, if you don't get them on the phone, then yeah, you can send a letter.
Okay. Then along that line, when you're doing legacy leads, older leads, 6 months or to a year or longer, do you scrub those? Do you look at the real estate? Do you look at them any closer than you normally would? I know you don't like to scrub up front because you might eliminate things.
I don't scrub any because I know how to help and monetize anyone in this situation.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right.
And David,
awesome.
I did find an attorney's website in Virginia, and they're basically using proponent interchangeably, synonymously with personal rep. I've never even noticed that, but there's in the definition there's no differentiation. It's just synonymous with personal representative.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, guys, great call. I think we had a near record number of attendees. We certainly had a record participation. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. Like I always do, I want to end the call by thanking those that showed up. I want to particularly thank those that actively participated. I want to challenge each of you, take one of the many great stories that you heard today that inspired you, go out and put those techniques into practice, and come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. And don't forget our role play call next Wednesday, 2 o'clock Eastern. Make it a great day and a great week. Stay healthy, everybody, and we will talk to you next Thursday. Take care.